So you're module 2, right? This is the second topic in the first module of the Cisco Certified Network Associate Training. So today we are going to be looking at the basic switch and end device configurations. So concerning networking, or should I say relating to, network, when you have a new device, basically after the whole, policy and setup on that device, it needs to connect to the network, right? For it to work. So it has to be connected to the network, right? For other policies that has been created on the network to apply to it, it needs to be part of the network. So if that's from the end device perspective. So talking of the switch perspective as well, when you buy, see all these devices, when you buy them out of the box, being it a switch, being it a firewall or a router or your laptop, for example, when they come out of the box, every company have their policies, some will create a local account, they'll join to domain, they'll sign into user accounts, some will install endpoint security, some will install EDR, like a lot of policies. In fact, there are some companies that uses static IP addresses, right? Some will have to reserve the IP addresses of those devices so they can, do something we call MAC binding, either on the firewall or on the device that is acting as a DHCP server. And they will map a policy to that particular IP that they want to give the device. So whether the device is on that network or not, anytime the device appears to be on the network, that policy is mapped to it, right? So there are some basic things that needs to be in place when you get an IT infrastructure device. You don't just, start working with them out of the box, right? When you buy them. So we're looking at those basic configuration in this chapter. So basically, what we will be looking at the end of, by the end of this module, these are things that they're expected to understand. Now, look at what the Cisco iOS is. What is Cisco iOS? What is an iOS, right? iOS is an acronym for Internet Network Operating System. Please mute yourself so you can hear me clearly. Thank you. So we are going to be navigating the iOS environment. Yes, we are going to be navigating the iOS environment so that we can, understand the modes. We have the modes. There are 3 basic modes that we need to know, and there are other sub modes too that we need to understand. So we are going to look at those modes and how we can identify them. Right? Some people will be in the privileged executive mode and they will think they are in the user executive mode. Some will be in the global configuration mode and we will be thinking they are in probably the router mode or something, or the interface mode. So you need to know each of these modes and the kind of commands and what you can even do, the capabilities that each mode on the Cisco iOS have. We're going to look at that. Then we look at the command structure, the syntax that the Cisco iOS uses. If you are putting in commands in the Cisco iOS that is not in line with the Cisco syntax, what you get is an unidentified kind of configuration, or configuration cannot be recognized, something like that. You just get an error. Why? Because you are typing in the right command, but you are missing the syntax, right? So the syntax has to be followed, and that's what we call the command structure. Then we look at basic device configuration. We look at that using the Cisco CLI. CLI means command line. Yeah. So I hope by now, I expect us to know the difference between CLI and GUI, right?
Yes,
Hello? Hello?
yes, we are with you. Yeah, we are with you.
So by now, I want to assume that we know the difference between CLI and GUI, like
Yeah.
GUI and CLI. Okay, so let me just quickly explain. GUI means graphical user interface. This is what we are seeing here. All the graphics you see on the screen, your desktop, your icons, your dark bar, and everything. So when you click on them, most times they run a command, that displays what you see on the screen, right? Some engineers are not really comfortable using the CLI. So they prefer to use, sorry, they are not comfortable using GUI, so they prefer to use CLI. CLI is command line interface. So here, basically what you do, everything there's no GUI in command line. Everything is in black and white. Let me put it that way. So you're going to be writing a lot of codes in this place. So instructs here, you are talking to the machine directly, right? In the CLI, you're talking to the machine directly. So you're instructing the machine to do what you want using those commands. So that's what it is. So now back to this. We are going to learn how to save configurations. Most times, this is where most engineers used to mess things up, right? I've seen a day, in fact, that happened to me, and since that day, I don't think I've made that mistake again till now. This thing I'm saying is like maybe probably 3 or 4 years ago. I had a long day trying to, test policies, create policies and all that. And forgetting that I didn't save, when you create the policy, you test the policy to see that it is working. When you create the policy, you test, there were many policies, right? So I was just creating and testing, and when it works, I assume, okay, let me move to the next one, like that. So in the end, the whole thing was working and I'm happy, everybody was cool. So I left. And the following day, I was told that people could not browse. And I'm like, something that was working yesterday, what happened? So when I got to the router, I realized all the things I configured the previous day were not there. That's because I did not use the save command. Just one small command like that skipped my mind, right? Just ruined the whole thing I've done the day before. So saving your configuration is very important. It's as good as you pressing Control X when you're working on your documents, just to be sure that everything is fine. Because it's not everything recovery will bring out for you when you're having issues, right? So we look at ports too. We look at ports. We look at interfaces and how to assign addresses to those interfaces. You're going to configure. We're saying something.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. I wanted to ask if it's just me because I was not hearing what you were saying before, but I think it's network.
Okay, please confirm if you can all hear me. Please, you can signify using the
I hear you. You cannot see my.
relax one. You can hear me, but you can't see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm sharing again. Sharing my screen again now. Kindly
Yeah, we can see
confirm
your
you can
screen now.
now see. Okay, good. So I was talking about all these, like the objective for this particular chapter, this new chapter. The title of the chapter is Basic Switch and End Device Configuration. So these are the things that I expected of you, that I expected to have understood, going through the whole thing, right? So I'm here. I said we're going to learn about the Cisco iOS access. We're going to navigate through the Cisco iOS, modes. We look at the command structure, the device configuration, basic things that you need to do when you buy your device brand new. Then you learn how to save configurations in the Cisco CLI. We look at ports and interfaces and how to assign IP addresses to them. Then we are going to use the ping utility to verify connectivity between devices when we configure them, right? So I have my packet tracer environments, ready. So we're going to do a little lab here, right? So let's start with the Cisco iOS access. Like I said earlier, the Cisco iOS is an acronym for Cisco Internetwork Operating System. It's a Linux operating system, actually. That's why it's a CLI. If it is Windows, you'd have probably been seeing desktop, computer, and pictures and all that. But this is a Linux, and I know most of us here must have probably heard of Linux if you haven't worked with it. Linux is they have their GUI version of Linux, their distro. I think is it CentOS or so? There's this particular version of Linux. They call it distro. The particular distro that has GUI. I used to have it like that. I was forgetting the name. We have Kali, we have Ubuntu, we have CentOS and their likes like that. Just like we have Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, and other version of Windows. So that's how it is. Now, talking of Cisco iOS, now there are 3 levels in the, how will I put it, the communication chain that happens between the end user and the computer you're working on. We have the hardware parts. Of course, we know the hardware parts is where we have all the chips, the capacitors, the transistors, resistors, the BIOS, and every other component that has to do with the computer or the computing device that you're working with. It doesn't have to be your PC. It can be any component. I say computing device. That's why I'm using that term, computing device. Computing device can be any device that has the functionality of a computer. Any device that has a RAM, it has a CPU, it has a mini hard drive or a storage drive where you can put things. It has chips, it has a motherboard, it has a BIOS, it has where you can store information and all that. We can refer to that device as a computing device. It has networking capability. It can function on the network. It can be part of the network. It can even act as how like it is, an infrastructure device. So such a device can be referred to as a computing device. So a computing device, you can see the hardware here. In the hardware layer, we have what we can see, feel, and touch, which are the PCs, the Cisco router, or the switch, or the firewall, or the access point, or whatever it is that the computing device is. We have this layer, right? So now we have the kernel. A lot of us are hearing of this kernel for the first time. This kernel is what they don't usually tell us about. The kernel is a very, very important part of the Microsoft or the operating system. There are different kind of operating systems. So we have the network operating system, NO, and we have the device, end user or device operating system. Under this device operating system, you can see there are different types. We have Mac, we have Windows, we have Linux. So if you are using Mac, there are several versions of Mac. If you're using Linux, there are several distros of Linux. If you're using Windows, there are several versions of Windows as well, like 10, 8, 7, Vista, Windows 2000, and their likes like that. So that's for end device OS, right? These are they are all computing devices. So talking of network operating system, two, we have Unix. Unix is a network operating system. We have Cisco, Linux. Linux is a network operating system too. Because part of it is what a fraction of it is what the Cisco CLI is. Right. So an operating system has an importance, whether it's a network operating system or a device operating system. There's an important part of an operating system that is like the heart of that OS. Either being it Windows or Linux or Mac or whatever. So there's a part of that operating system that is the core, that if anything affects it, your OS is gone. That thing is referred to as the kernel. It is referred to as the kernel. So when your kernel is corrupt, that's why you'll be hearing people say the boot device is corrupt, or or the boot file, or there's a virus that affects the boot file. This is what is affecting. If this thing is corrupt or is affected, operating system will not load. Your Windows or whatever kind of operating system you're using, it will not load. And that was why, for those of us that are using Windows, that are very familiar with Windows, that was why there was an upgrade from MBR. MBR is Master Boot Record. This used to be the legacy kind of BIOS, uses BIOS here that we're using. That was why they have to upgrade from MBR to what? To GPT. GPT is read partition table. Uses what? UEFI. This is designed to address the vulnerability of BIOS. Though we still call UEFI BIOS. Everybody still calls it BIOS. But newer systems don't use BIOS anymore. So because we still, this part of the world, a lot of people still use the old version of system. So you still be seeing it. It's very common. Still be seeing BIOS, still be seeing the version of using, master boot records from our devices, right? So that boot virus was a very common thing, and it was addressed using this GPT version. So the essence is for it to secure that kernel of the operating system. The kernel is like the heartbeat. If anything happens to it, your Windows will not load. There's nothing you can do. You have to format the system again. You will start a fresh format so that the operating system can load the kernel properly. So that's about it. Then thirdly, we have the shell. This shell is like the UI, the GUI that users are seeing as the end user, what you are seeing as the end user that you click on, to give instructions that would pass through the kernel and tell the hardware what to do. Do you understand? So that's what these layers are about. Please confirm if you understood everything I just said in this slide before moving to the next. Are we good? Hello?
Yes,
okay.
you are good.
Okay, so talking of GUI, I mentioned this earlier. The GUI allows you to interact with the system using an environment of graphical icons, menus, and windows. This is a window. A displayed screen is a window, right? I'm showing you my window now. If I switch to something else, you will still see another window. So the options that are seen on the window are those icons or menus that enables you to select what you want, right? GUI is user-friendly. That's why a lot of people love to use it, especially the people that are not too technical. They love to use it, right? So, but the CLI is the part that people that are very techy, people that wants to show themselves, or people whose area of specialization is in tech, usually prefers to work because the CLI gives you a lot of flexibility that this GUI. There are limits to what you can do with GUI actually. So it gives you a lot of flexibility that when you are working with GUI, you're only working with the options that are seen on the screen. Yes, that's what they call fine tuning. To fine tune, fine tuning functionality is only on the CLI. You can decide what you want. What you want to display, the functions that you want, the options that you want to be appearing on your screen. You get all those things can actually be possible through CLI and not GUI. Because with GUI, you are limited to only what you can see. You can only click the options you are seeing on the screen. Options that are not available are usually assumed not to be possible. Or it's usually assumed by some engineers that this device cannot do this functionality. Whereas you can do it, but because the person did not understand the CLI part. So when you're very good with CLI, you have more edge than people who work more with GUI. Right, so see what they said. They said GUIs can fail. Of course, yes, they can even crash sometimes. Like you have to even restart the system. Windows does that a lot. Windows does that. Your system will just freeze for no reason. You restart, and in the name of restarting, you just start seeing the system is trying to full update, 10% installation. And before you know it, you have to wait for about 5 to 10 minutes for the whole update to finish installing before you can continue your work. So for these reasons, some people prefer to use other versions of operating system like Linux. Some prefer to use Mac and all that. But still, they have their own bad side as well, right? So Windows has actually continuously been in, it has continuously been under improvement. So it's usually improved. They're trying to improve the GUI to give it more flexibility and more options for you to do your work. And then they're trying to make it a lightweight kind of operating system. That's why if you see newer versions of Windows 11, before Windows used to be around 7 gig actually. So these days you see it's gradually going down. It's going down to like, let's say 5 gig, 5 GB. Sometimes you see 4.5, sometimes 4.7, depending. So it's not fixed yet, right? So it's going down. So that's that about GUI. So what's the purpose of an operating system? A lot of people don't really know the types of softwares that we even have. So let me quickly go into that. We have two types of software. There's system software and there's application software. These are the two types of softwares that we have. Now, talking of application software, let me start with this. Application software, as the name implies, application are softwares that are designed to carry out a specific task. Take, for instance, calculator. On your system, you have a calculator app. That calculator cannot do any other thing. It's an app that is designed to calculate figures. It is designed for calculation. You can't use it to do anything else. That's an example. Another example of an app or application software is Office, or should I say Microsoft Office. Office is a business tool that is designed for business purpose. You want to create reports, you want to make calculations, you want anything that has to do with, you probably want to do presentation. Anything that has to do with, creating, preparing, modifying, and anything that has to do with reports. Office is a suite of apps that has all those functionalities that you need to function in the official environment in it. You cannot be using Office now to do Photoshop work. It's not designed for that purpose. Then if you talk of Photoshop, it is designed to edit, create, and modify photos, right? Anything that has to do with images, backgrounds, pictures, graphics, anything graphics is designed to do it. That's its purpose. So it's an application that is designed for that purpose. So those are application software. They are designed with, they are purpose built. They are designed with the purpose in mind, right? But when you talk of system softwares are like the platform on which application softwares run. Without system software, this system software you are seeing, application software will not work. An example of system softwares are your operating systems. Imagine that you want to on your system and Windows is not load. Will you be able to use a Photoshop? Can you use a packet tracer? Packet tracer is a software too, but it's designed to just simulate networks. Because your Windows is not loading, then you can't use a packet tracer. That's what it is. Right? So it helps you, it gives you a lot of functionality to manage your system. Right? So these operating systems rather, or should I say these system softwares enables the user to do a lot. One of them is you can see use a mouse to make selection and run programs. Yeah, when you double click on one of the icons you're seeing on your screen, when you double click on it, take for instance let's say the recycle bin on your desktop. When you double click on it, it opens the recycle bin, right? Normally, if it's in CLI, if you're using this CLI, you're supposed to write a command to tell your computer to open recycle bin for you. Why? Because there are no graphics in CLI. Everything, all you will see in CLI is just text. That's just it. You can only run text-based programs. You will not see graphics. Here now you can just click on your recycle bin, double click on it. It will tell when you double click, automatically it runs a command telling the system to carry out a particular task, to open the recycle bin for you. That command that you'd have written when you're using CLI, that you'd have typed maybe show recycle bin, for instance. Do you understand? So the operating system gives you a lot of functionalities, right? So you can enter, you can see it says here that you can enter text or text-based commands. Yeah, you can do that too. It gives you that environment. Aside clicking, you can, drag and drop. You can, operating system, they have a lot of functionalities these days, unlike the CLI. So people are even using two screens. Like myself now, I'm talking to you from my second screen. Just drag and push the screen to this place. It tells the command, it automatically writes that code, tells the system to move this screen on monitor 1 to monitor 2. If it was CLI, I would have written a code. Without you writing a code, nothing is possible. So that's the difference. So now talking of access method, how do you access your Cisco switch? It's pretty simple. This is a console cable, right? You must have been hearing of
So, Mr.
console. Say what?
I
Sorry,
don't see
I
your
didn't.
screen.
I don't know
You
if
can't
it's
see my
just.
screen again?
Yes, I'm still stuck at operating system. That's what I'm seeing on my screen here.
My goodness. Are you sure your network is doing well today? I'm trying to
That's what,
reshare my
Network is not
screen
doing good.
again.
that's what I'm trying to
Try to share
confirm
my
if
screen again.
is everybody.
Please confirm if you can now see my screen.
It's not coming up
Yes,
yet.
I can see it. For my side, I can see it, but the network is not that good anyway. But at least I can still see.
Okay, so if you cannot see, this is like the third time I um
You can
on
see your
sharing
screen
and
now.
sharing my screen again. So I
I
think
think it's
it's
up now.
an issue from your end, right? So if all of a sudden you stop seeing my screen, you can just leave the session and join again. But
Okay.
you can all see my screen right now.
Yeah, I'm on access mode. Your screen is showing access mode.
Yes, access methods. Yes, that's
Access
where I am
mode.
already.
Okay.
So I was talking of how about I do this? Let me see. I was thinking of going into um this mode. Are you seeing it in full screen now? Hello?
Yes.
Still,
Okay.
but still kind of out screen, but not that full like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I'm using this is because I want to be able to use the tool, the writing tool should I say the pen rather, on PowerPoint to illustrate so you guys can understand what I'm talking about. So here I was talking about console. Now you can access your Cisco device using two major methods. There are two methods actually. You can either access through this number one, your console. Let me take my pen. You can either access through number one here, your console, or through VTY lines. VTY, I don't know it doesn't have acronym actually. It's just a virtual line. They usually call it virtual line. Console line requires you to use your console cable, which is this. This console cable, you connect this part to your console port on your Cisco switch. Then you connect this part to a converter that connects to your system using USB. Right. When you connect it to your screen, you can now see the console port is they call it out of band port on your Cisco router, either your Cisco router or your Cisco switch. let me say it is a Cisco device. So with the console method, you are using a cable, which is this console cable you are seeing here. Or with the VTY option, you are not using a cable, you are connecting remotely to the device. I do this a lot. I connect remotely to. So in fact, one of the first things I do when I'm configuring the Cisco device is to enable VTY. I'm so used to it that I don't like going to my server room. I don't know why, but for some reasons I don't like it. I just like to sit in my office and be configuring everything, right? So when I'm done, I just go to the server room, put this port, connect this port here, connect this to this, connect this to that. So I'm just so comfortable with that. I'll show you one of the things I did recently that made the whole thing easier for me. I configured 4 Cisco devices, 2 28 ports and 2 48 ports. It was so convenient when I was doing it. I created an Excel sheet to map out what I want to configure. So when I was done, with the Excel sheet, I had the scope of what I wanted to do in mind. So the first thing I just did was to go into the server room. I mounted the switch and did all the switches into the rack. Then I enabled remote access. In the server room there, I enabled remote access. You need to have a physical access to the device first to enable remote access. Then I went back to my office. The server room is like 2 floors from where my office is. You can imagine going up and down, right? So I had to just connect remotely. I enabled SSH. SSH is an acronym for Secure Shell. Currently, it's the most secured way of remotely connecting to Cisco CLI. The version 1, V1, is now vulnerable, so we now use version 2. I'm going to show you how we do it when we enable SSH. We enable SSH server on the Cisco CLI. Then you will connect with the SSH client, which is this proxy that you're seeing here. Right, so you can connect through a console. That's the first method. When you have a device, the first thing you need to do is to connect using a console cable. This cable that you're seeing on your screen. Then when that is done, you will now have to enable remote access for subsequent connections. That's it. So Telnet, the reason I've not mentioned Telnet since is because we don't use it again. Telnet is an insecure way of remotely accessing the network. You know why I said so? Because Telnet does not encrypt your access to the device. What is encryption? A way of securing the connection to your devices so that third parties cannot have access to the data you are exchanging between your PC and a Cisco device. If you're having a telnet, if you're using telnet to access your device, somebody who has a sniffing tool like Wireshark can just log into your device, or they can intercept your connection, and they will see your username and password that you used in logging in. But with SSH, it is not possible. So see what they said here. Note, this is recommended. This is the recommended method for remotely connecting to a device. So SSH is very, very secure. Don't forget you need the console access for initial configuration, right? So subsequently, after enabling your remote access through the cable, you can now subsequently be connecting to your cable. Sorry, through remote access. But the initial configurations has to be done with a console cable. I think I sent you a picture of my console cable a few days ago, last week, the one I did in one of my offices. So now, how do we connect to the device? You have a console cable. This is your Cisco device, for instance. This is your PC, right? You have your console cable. You have connected the console cable to the console ports. And you have it connected to your laptop too, as well. So how do you now access the Cisco CLI? How do you now access this? You access it through some special softwares called terminal emulation softwares, or you call them terminal emulation programs. They are used to access not just Cisco devices alone. No. You can use them to access a lot of devices. Any device that has CLI, especially those Linux systems. You can use it to access Microtic router. You can use it to access FortiGate. You can use it to access Sophos, Cisco, Unify. Just name it. It's a very, very popular solution, popular program rather. So one of the most popular among them is Putty. We call it Putty. Some call it Putty. So TerraTerm is owned by Cisco. It's Cisco's terminal emulation program. And we have secure CRT as well too. But the most popular one that you would find almost every network engineer use. Out of 100%, 90% is using Putty. I have Putty on my system as well. I can open it for you to see. So you can see this is Putty on my screen. If I look at it, you can see I'm using SSH to log in. Right. So you can use Serial, you can use others. Others that is going to use Telnet. Don't forget I said Telnet is an unsecure way of connecting to your switch. You can use other things, this remote login and other methods to log in as well. So this was the last device I connected to. Look at the IP 10.18.19.30. So Putty, it's a very powerful tool, right? I can be here and I'll connect to any device. The device can be in UK, case. And I will save the configuration of that device in UK to my system here after configuring it. In case anything goes wrong, all you just need is remote access. That's all. So that's it. So don't forget, we have terminal emulation softwares or terminal emulation programs, right? That helps in accessing the Cisco CLI. It is either Putty, TerraTerm, or Secure CRT. Putty is the most popular. This one is the most popular. So now let's navigate the iOS environment. See what it looks like. Yes, we'll be looking at different modes today. We have the basic, the very first mode you're going to access when you try logging into your switch or your router. Any Cisco device, be it Cisco firewall or what, right? When you try to access it for the first time using your console cable, this is the first thing you see. If it's a router, you see this first prompt. If it's a switch, you see this prompts as well. That prompt, if you by default, routers are named router. And by default, switches are named switch. So when you see this command, this greater than command, that means you are in the user executive mode. Please keep these modes in mind. You'll be working with it a lot. Right. So if you now use the enable command to move from this user executive mode to another higher mode, it will take you to the privileged executive mode, this. And this mode has a symbol that can be used to identify it. Some people just be configuring, they don't even know the mode they have. So when you see this greater than, know you're in the user executive mode. When you see this asterisk, you see ash, yeah, this ash symbol, just know that you're in the privileged executive mode. I'm going to show you here in the CLI. Now there's this one other mode as well that is like the mode that has the highest level of, privilege. This is the global configuration mode, this one. So this mode, you can only know it through config hash, this thing, when you see config hash here. Don't forget the first one, user executive mode has this greater than, privilege executive mode has this, then global configuration mode has config hash. There are other modes too. Other modes are like, they are not direct modes, like these three modes I just mentioned. They are not direct modes like the user executive, privilege executive, and the global configuration mode. They are like sub modes. So these three modes I just mentioned earlier. One of them is the line mode. Line, you see line configuration mode when you are configuring an interface. The interface can now be a physical interface or a virtual interface. Take, for instance, your console ports. This is a physical interface. Auxiliary access is a physical interface. SSH and Telnet access is a virtual interface for accessing the device remotely. Some interfaces are physical, some are virtual. Right. So when you enter, you are configuring the device and you see config line, just know that you are in the line mode of the line configuration mode. They are trying to enable access, out of band access, only to authorized people that will be allowed to configure this device. Config line. They're configuring either the virtual line or the physical line. Then talking of interface, look at this. Those ports that you're seeing, or the interface that you're seeing, if it's assigned an IP address, you can configure it, you can call it an interface. Then you can do some sort of configurations on it. So if you see IF, this IF means interface. That's what it means. So I'm going to show you each of these modes shortly. Okay, now, okay, we are talking about the video covering all this. The video is in the files I shared with you. So before proceeding to other modes, okay, let's be done with it first. Let's be done with it. So I'll just do the whole configuration once and you understand what it looks like. We are going to do some configurations on the user executive mode. We are going to do some on the privilege executive mode, and we'll do some on the global configuration mode as well. Now, how do you move from mode to mode, from mode 1 to mode 2? How do you switch modes? If you're in the user executive mode, all you just need to do to move to the privilege executive mode is to use the enable command. That means enable. Enable will move you from the user executive mode to the privilege executive mode. If you now want to move from the privilege executive mode to the global configuration mode, what you just need to do is to type configure terminal, or you type config T. See, config T. It moves you to the global configuration mode. Are we together? So when you want to move from this global configuration mode to other modes, either the line mode or the interface mode. Don't forget line mode, you see config line in the line mode. And in the interface mode, you see config if, which is this one that I showed you here. Config if, this one. So that's it. I don't want it to be too deep. Let me just do some basic configurations and show us what I actually mean. So please confirm if you can see my packet tracer lab here. I'm trying to, let me use this 1941 router. Can
No, we
you all
cannot
see
see
my
the.
packet?
No.
What's happening? Can you see now? Hello?
Yes, 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 yes.
So can you see the packet tracer now?
Yes, can see.
Okay, okay, great. I think I'll stop using full screen. Maybe that's where the problem is. So we have this router here now. This is a router that is taking you to the internet. Let me see, let me use another router here. Let's see another router. And just want to do some, stuffs. let's say this is internet. Internet, right? Now this is your router. This is the company router. Let's say the name of the company is My Lab. Now we have 2 switches. There are 2 switches. Then we have, it's a small company, they have a desktop connecting to one switch. And they have a laptop connecting to the other switch as well. So let me use auto interface for now. I'm going to show you guys why I'm using auto interface. I'll tell you the reason later. Okay, so sorry. Let me use this. Connecting to router 0. I'm using G0/0. Now you will notice something. Are you noticing something about the lights? The LED lights I are seeing on the switch. Do you notice anything here?
Yes, some arrows are green, while some are red.
Yes, the reason the ones connecting to the switch are green is because by default, all the interfaces on the switch are enabled. Because these switches are doing layer 2. They are doing layer 2. So what you have there is not an interface. It's a port. Ports are on. They are on state by default. These devices are layer 3 device. So by default, layer 3 interfaces are not on. You have to go and on it. You have to go and power the interfaces for it to work. Now, I want to give this interface an IP. I'll just say it's a static. I don't want to do TCP. I'm showing static. 10.10.10.1. And I can see my subnet mask should be 255.255.0. Then 10.10.10.254. All right, let's leave DNS. We're not going to the internet. We are going to the internet, that's where we need DNS. So this is it. We are giving our gateway. Where is the gateway in this case now? The gateway is 10.10.10.254, right? Command prompt. When I say IP config, you see the IP that I see 10.10.10.1 is for the desktop and 10.10.10.254 is for the gateway. Okay, so minimize. This router here now, this is my lab router, is the gateway. So traffic coming from this guy goes like this. He goes to this place, then he goes to the internet. Same thing happens to this laptop. So this one will be 10.10.10.2, 10.10.10.2, then 255.255.255.0, then we have 10.10.10.254. Okay, so if we come here and say command prompt, let's say IP config, and see 10.2 is what the address that the system is using at before. Then subnet mask is 255.255.255, and the gateway is 254. Let me minimize. So everything is working here now. Fine. PC1, PC0, and laptop 0 is configured. This is the basic thing that we need to do. I'm configuring the IP address manually because we are using this is the lab. Normally, in the company settings, they used to have a DHCP server that will do this automatically. All you just need is the Wi-Fi username and password when you're in. The process will happen automatically. I can actually configure that on the router, but I don't want to do it now because it will look somehow. I want us to get to that topic, then I'll show you how to configure DHCP on the router. Now, this part is done. This is a layer 2 device. This switch is a layer 2 device. So they can work out of the box without you configuring them. They can work out of the box. But we still need to configure them because they are managed devices. They are not plug and play. But before we do that, let's come to this place. Or okay, this is let me do like this. This is 10.10.10.0. Okay, let me do this one. Let me make this network 10.10.11.2 and 11.254. What's the separate network? Yeah, that's it. So on this interface now, if you put your mouse here, you will see the interface name G0/0 on this. Here you see G0/1 on this. So I'll click on the router. I'll click on the router. I'll come to the CLI part. Don't forget we are using CLI. Don't forget this. I'll type no. I don't want the prompt. So by default, like I said, look at the name. If you are seeing the name, let me increase my font type so you will see it very well. Come to view, sorry, option preferences. Then you come to fonts. I can say I want 11, apply. Or should I say 12? 12. Apply. Okay, so you see the font properly now. Yeah. So you can see by default, the name is router by default. This is how it looks like. And this is the user executive mode. You are seeing the greater than symbol in front of the router. So if I want to move from the greater than in this mode, now this mode is called user executive mode. I want to move from this mode to the privileged executive mode. I will say enable. And I'll say enter. When I type enable, I'll say enter. See, it has moved to the privileged executive mode. You can see the hash sign here. Right. You can see the hash sign here. If I want to leave this mode too now and go to the global configuration mode, that name global configuration, what it means is this: anything you do on that mode affects the entire system. It affects the entire switch. It affects the entire ports. If it's a 48 port, it affects the entire 48 ports. So to enter that mode, you use the command called configure terminal. Configure terminal. So when I type it, I have moved into another mode. So anything I do in this mode now affects the entire switch. One of the first things you need to do, we're going to learn it in other slides. I just want to show you, is to change the host name. I can change the host name by saying host name. I'll say my lab switch. Okay, router, this is a router. Sorry. My lab router. See, the name has changed from router to my lab router. That is it. Now, the reason this is possible is this. You can see that because we are using the simulation tool, I connected to this device by double clicking on it, right? So let me close it. In real life, you cannot double click on your Cisco router. Do you understand? So in real life, you need a console cable to connect the device, to connect to the device. A console cable is required. This cable that I showed you earlier. This cable that has this sky blue color. You need it. So we have that cable in this lab as well. This is it here. Do you understand? So most times we cannot double click on our router. We are just doing it. This is what the router looks like in real life. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like in real life. See. This is the ports. This is your console ports. And see, it has this sky blue color. This is the console port that you connect your console cables. When you connect to this port, you will now connect the USB parts to your laptop. Do you understand? So that's how it is. It's because it's a software, we can just double click and it will open your CLI and start configuring. So normally you can do it. If you are doing labs, in fact, in the Cisco CCNA exam, they will tell you to use a console cable. How do you use console cable? all you just need to do is to click on this icon here. Click on this icon. We want to use this desktop to connect to this guy. So click on it. I will say RS232. This RS232 is the what they call it, the COM port, the communication port that console cable uses on PCs. So you click on it. It will now move the cable. You can see the cable is sky blue. To now move it to this guy. You now say you want to use auxiliary or you want to use console. You can still move it to this guy. If you don't want to use it, you can still move to this guy. If you don't want to use it to configure yours, you can use it to configure your switch. It has a cable, it has a port. The reason you are not seeing what is it called? The console port here is because this router is a very old router. The older routers before console came into the picture were using auxiliary. This switch is still recent, 2960. If you click on this now, if you go up, are you seeing console cable here? See console. Click on it to connect. You can see using your console cable, you are connecting to this switch. So when I come here now, from this desktop, I can access this switch now with this console cable. All I just need to do is to come to my terminal. Click on terminal. See, click on OK. These are all the bits per second I use it for communication. Click on OK. And I'm in. This is the switch. I can now say, okay, enable from 50 switch. I can just say host name, my switch. That's all. Line console 0. Say login local. And I'll say blue rights. That's it, my configuration. As I'm saying login with a local authentication. So I didn't create local authentication. I'm just showing you how. You can actually still say line console 0 and you say, okay, no login local. Just login. Sorry. Just login and you say password. Password is Cisco. You say login. You can see login synchronous. That started. They've taken out synchronous again from packet tracer. Okay, it's fine. Just login is okay. So mind you, it's not all the commands that work on packet tracer. They only just left the command that you need to do your CCNA lab. Cisco is very, very, how will I put it, wise. So they left only the command that you need to do your basic labs in packet tracer. If you want to do advanced labs, they expect you to go and buy a Cisco switch, or you go to an environment where they have something like that before you can work on it. Right. So this is how you connect from your device using a console cable to your Cisco device. So once we are in, now here we have been able to, let me go back again. Exit, exit, exit. I'm out. So if you want to go in now, you have to see put password. See, now it's asking me to put password. I can't go in again because I have enabled password on the console access. Like I said earlier here, the console, this console ports is a management port. See, it's a physical management port used to access the device in order to provide maintenance, such as performing initial configuration. So that somebody who has access to your server room cannot just go there and plug something in your switch and start configuring because you didn't password it. So by the time he gets there and see that they passworded this thing, he would find his way out. Also, it might not be that an outsider is in your server room. It might be that your colleague that is not supposed to have that access. So in order for you not to mess things up, you just have to put your password there to restrict access. That's what we just did here. So you have to go in back, you just put the password. I'll say Cisco, and I'm in. So you can see now what you are seeing here. This greater than means you are in user executive mode. I'll say enable to move to the privileged executive mode. If I say enable now, it moves me to privileged executive mode. See, with this privileged executive mode, you are seeing this hash sign, right? Then if I want to go to the global configuration mode where I can do further configuration, I am going to say config C or configure terminal. So I'm in now. Are we good? Hope you guys are getting it. User executive mode, privilege executive mode, and global configuration mode. That's it. I would have done other configurations, but I don't want to be too fast. I want us to be taking it slide by slide. Then I'll show you how to password your system virtually, either virtually or physically. I'm going to show you that. So now when you, okay, we talked about sub-configuration modes here, which is the config line and config if. Config line, we have two major lines in the system, in the Cisco iOS. It's either a physical line or a virtual line. Physical line is the console that I just passworded now that I showed you guys. Virtual line is the remote access. I want to have remote access to my device without using a console cable. I want to have remote access to my device without using a console cable. I'll use that to go in. That's what the virtual line does. Right. So talking about config line, this config line that you're seeing here is when you are in the interface mode. Config if, sorry, is when you're in the interface mode. IF means interface. It's just a way of abbreviating it. If you're using config if iPhone interface, the command will be very long. So Cisco had to look for a way to minimize it. So that's what they did here. So this command Ctrl Z is going to take you back to the privilege where you were coming from. If you were in the privilege executive mode, it will return you back to user executive mode. If you were in the global configuration mode, it will return you back to privilege executive mode. Just like returning from mode 3 to mode 2 and from mode 2 back to mode 1. Do you get? So take note of these following commands. You know, you are going to be using them more often. We are going to be using them more often. Enable is to move from user executive mode to privilege executive mode. When you disable, you are automatically going back to the mode as well. So configure terminal moves you to the global configuration mode. Exit and end are doing the same job. They'll take you back from the global configuration mode to the privilege executive mode. Ctrl Z also does the same thing. It just takes you a mode back, one mode backward. So that's how it is. So that commands to enter sub configuration modes, you need to know them, like config if, interface G0/0, interface G0/1, depending on the modes. I'm going to show you all that. I don't want my story to be too much. So the talking of command structure. So we'll do configuration today. I'll do a lab for you guys to see. And now talking of command structure. The Cisco iOS, don't forget I said I mentioned it earlier, that it has a structure. The structure is the syntax that has to be followed when you are creating or when you are typing your commands. If you did not type your command following the syntax that the Cisco iOS is built with, you will get an error. Now look at this. The guy is in the, what mode is this, please? Who can help with this mode? The mode that has the greater than. Can you all hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, so what mode is this? The mode that has this greater than. This is the user executive mode. It's the first mode in the switch or the router. So user executive mode is the mode 1. Privilege executive mode is the mode 2. It has a little privilege. Then the global configuration mode is mode 3. That's the final mode that has the privilege to do everything. That's why they call it global. Everything you do there affects the entire switch. you can be doing something in the first two modes that will be affecting maybe one or two ports or some interfaces. But anything you do in mode 3 affects the entire switch. It affects the entire router. So you have to be careful before you save. Be sure that you're doing the right thing. And be sure that you know what you are doing in the mode that you have. Now, in this mode, in this user is everything mode, look at this command. It's instructing the switch. As I said, with GUI, graphical user interface, you can't do instructions. All you need to do is double click, right? You just double click or you single click. Options will show you, like they will just appear before you. But in the CLI, you need to configure, everything has to be configured. You want to shut down your switch. In the GUI, you just come here and click on Windows, click this, click, and it will shut down. In CLI, it doesn't happen that way. You have to instruct the switch to shut down. Everything is about instruction. You command it, do this, right? So look at this command now. They said show IP protocols. Show IP protocols. The command show, that show is a command. This show, they're trying to tell you that this is a prompt that appears in the mode that you have. This show, you're instructing somebody, you're instructing the system. Show this. This is the command. Now, for the switch to know what to display, for it to know what to show, you will now have to add some keywords or arguments for it to know what you're saying. Show what? You have to put a space. This is a space. There have to be a space between the command and the argument or the keyword that you want the switch to treat. So that's a show IP protocols. It means you're asking it to show the protocols that are in use in the system or in the CLI. If it's using RIP, it will show RIP. If it's using EIGRP, it will show EIGRP. If it's using OSPF, it will show you OSPF. That this is the current protocol that we are using. So that's just how it is. Switch is the prompt we get in your mode. If you have changed the name of the switch to something else, like I did earlier, it is that name that you change it to that you see. You will not see switch. You are seeing switch here because it is still in the defaults. This is the default name. Pink is a command. Ping this. So it's more like you're telling the switch to call this person. Try and reach this person. Ping is a utility tool that we use in networking a lot to test connectivity. Reach out to this person. Now, who do you want it to reach out to when you're instructing it? Ping. The switch will be like, who should I ping? So then you have to state the person you want it to ping, the IP address of that person. Ping 192.168.10.5. Then to be like, okay, it will just ping immediately. Then if it's reachable, you will see the results. If it's not reachable, you also see the results. So that is just it. Now, the difference between keyword and parameter is this. Parameters don't really have. Parameters they are focusing on variables. That is, they're talking of things that can change. Keywords are known by the Cisco iOS itself. It's known by the operating system. It's not. They are there. Even if you forget this keyword, if you're in this mode, just type question mark. Just type question. If you type question mark, it will bring out all the modes for you. I can show you an example here. In this, as I'm here now, let me say exit. I'm with this switch now. I don't know what to type. Or should I say, what if I say, going by this command that we have here, this show IP protocols. I can't use show IP protocols here because this is a layer 2 device. Protocols are for layer 3. I can say ping 192.168.10.5. So when I say ping, I've forgotten what I want to ping. I've forgotten the next argument that I want to put there. The argument, the variable that I'm trying to define to instruct the switch to do. I'll just use question mark. When you type question mark, it will tell you word, ping, destination, address, or hostname. I should put a word here, either an address, a destination IP address. That's what you need. So destination IP address or a host name. So long as we have DNS, you can use a host name in your network. If your DNS is working, if you have a DNS server, you can use a host name. So it will resolve the host name to IP address. That's what DNS does. It does conversion between host name to IP address and IP address back to host name. So if I now say ping 127.0.0.0, it's saying it's unknown. .1. It's trying to ping. It's trying to ping. Third ping, fourth ping, fifth ping that to give error that you can't reach. See, success rate 0. You cannot reach it because it's not, we've not configured the network yet. Just trying to ping it. So if the success rate is 100%, that means it's working. That means you can reach this device. You can reach the device that has this IP address. This is actually a loopback address. I just used it. It's not working in packet twister, but it's working in real life. It works in live environment. It's a loopback. If you want to test your network interface card to be sure that your TCP/IP stack is working, you can use it by just typing command prompt. If you ping, it's more like a way of pinging yourself. You just say ping 127.0.0.1. If I type enter now, you see I'll get reply. To reply me, I'm pinging myself. You get, so I'm replying myself. That means my TCP/IP stack is working. I can participate on the network because I'm replying. You can see. So that's it. But it's disabled in packet tracer. You can only ping live IPs, not loopback interface or an IP that's reserved. Do you understand? So that's how this is. You can ping or you can instruct. Your instruction can be, or your command. So command is as good as saying you're instructing somebody to do it. Do this, right? So if you are instructing the Cisco iOS to do something, you are either to use a keyword or an argument. Like I said, keywords are there inside the Cisco iOS. Look at this. Let me say show. Let me take all this one off. I'll say show. I say show now. Show what? I want to use the keyword, but I've forgotten the keyword, right? But I know the Cisco iOS has all those keywords. I'll just use question mark to now show me all the options. These are all the options. What do I want to show? Show AAA, show access list, show ARP, show boot, show CDP neighbor, show clock, show crypto, show DCP, show this. See, the options are much. They are numerous. You can see if I press enter, it will keep going. Show port security, show privileged access, show this, show that, show session, show SMTP, show spanning tree, show SSH. See, so you now look at all these lists of keywords that you have here, right? And choose the one you want to. Do you understand? So take for instance, you want to say show version. This is the show version. Oh, okay. You now come here and say show version. You press enter to now show you the version. Now, okay, the device is a switch. It has 26 ports. This is the model. You can see model. This is the software version 15.0. Then this is the software image. It's a Catalyst 2960 switch for LAN. It has K9. K9 is for security. And be like, oh, okay, it's fine. That is just it. You can say show run. And to show you the configuration of all the switch. You see that the switch has 28 ports. You can say show VLAN brief. Show VLAN brief, and show you the VLANs. There are no VLANs currently configured. So everybody is on VLAN 1 by default. These VLANs are automatically generated by the suppliers. They are always there. So everybody see all the ports on one active VLAN, which is the default VLAN. So by default, we don't usually use this VLAN. We off it and use our own VLAN by default. So just use the command. The switch is the prompt, ping is the command. Then this is an argument. Arguments are variables. The reason I'm saying they're variables is because it can be another IP address. Do you understand? So it can be this network 192.168.10, can be 192.168.20, or it can even be the same network address, but the host address, which is the last one, will be changing. That's why I said that it's a variable. It's not predefined. Now, talking of Cisco iOS command syntax check. How do you check the Cisco iOS command syntax to be sure that you're typing the right thing? So we're going to look at this in detail. You come here, you see when you say ping, right? You see IP address, IP iPhone address. Trace routes is used to trace when there are issues. You want to know the particular router that is not forwarding your packets. Use it to do that. Yes, look at syntax. If a command is complex with multiple arguments, you may need to, you may see it presented like this. When you are working in a very big environment, a switch that is forwarding a lot of, packets. It has a lot of devices connected to it. It's a core switch, for instance, and you want to filter. One thing about filtering is you want to only get the information that you need when you want to filter. You don't want it to just show you the entire configuration. So you want to say, okay, switch ports, which of the ports? Port security. On what you want to see? Is it the aging you want? Port security aging. On which argument again? Is it static, the time, or the type, or absolute, or inactivity? You want to see maybe the timeouts configured on the switch, or you want to see the accurate time of the switch, or you want to see the static settings. There are different port security. There is port security to shut down. There's port security option to I think secure, and there's one to other. There are about 3 of them like that. Port security is a very good security feature too. So when the user that is not supposed to connect to a port connects to it, the port will automatically shut down. So when it shut down, it is you that we now have to go and enable it. And if you want to stop that, you can still say, let it allow the person to connect, but it will not forward the packet. So look at the syntax. The command ping and the user-defined argument is the IP address. Ping 10.10.10.10, instructing it to ping that argument, which is a variable. It can change. Now, the iOS has 2 forms of help. Yes, the most popular one is one I told you before, with the use of question mark. And that is referred to as the context-sensitive help. Right? The context-sensitive help. You can actually use this syntax check by just looking at it and knowing. When you are very familiar with the Cisco iOS environment, when you see it, you will know that, oh, you have missed out a space or you have missed out a character. Right? But what helps a lot is the context-sensitive help, which is this guy, through the use of question mark. See this guy here now is trying to ping. He just used the word ping, but he doesn't know what to type. So he maybe used the question mark here. He brought out IP. Okay, ping is an IPv4 address. When you say IP, it means IP version 4. Right. So version 6 IPs or version 6 commands will always have version 6 in them. So, but in this part of the world, we are still using version 4. I'll still be using it for like maybe 10 more years before we move to version 6, even though that bigger companies have moved to version 6. Right. So this command syntax verifies that a valid command was entered by the user. You can see if you type it wrongly and you press enter, it will tell you invalid input detected. That's what it's telling you. So you now have to check your command again to be sure that you typed it well. And if you are not sure, just use the context sensitive help using the command, the question mark, and it will show you. That's how it is. Okay, so there's a video here, is in the file that I'll share with you guys. Now, hotkeys, talking of hotkeys. So if you notice when I was typing earlier, I don't know if any of you noticed, I wasn't typing completely. I'll just type CON, I'll press tab. The Cisco iOS will complete it for me. Right? I want to
Yeah,
type
I
show,
it's when you use
I'll just type SH.
yes,
If I type SH, I'll press tab, it will
and
complete it for me. So Cisco is trying to save you the stress of typing all your characters completely. In fact, in the process of typing everything completely, you'll be doing mistake. Do you understand? So you just look at the first 3 or 4 characters of the command that you want to type. When you type it, just click on the tab command on your keyboard. The Cisco iOS will complete it for you. An example is this. When I come here and see SH. SH is just a short way of saying show, right? If I click on tab now to finish it off, show what? I want to say show run. Show run means I want it to say show running config. I'm instructing the switch to show running configurations. So if I say show run, he understands. But if I click on tab now, it will finish it for me. It will just write the command completely. Show running config. See? If I want it to show startup configuration, I'll say show start. Show start. If I click on tab to finish it up, show startup configuration. Do you understand? So it helps you to finish it up. Imagine if I was typing show space start up iPhone config, I'm likely to have missed a character, and I'll just at the end, I might type the config that the G might be twice. If I click on enter now, it tell me that invalid input has been detected. Human errors are likely to happen. In fact, it's very likely to happen. So in order to avoid it, Cisco brought out this method, right? Just type the first 3 or 4 characters of the command you want to type. Click on tab, it will finish it up for you. So refer to it as hotkeys. And if you don't want to finish it, just type CONF. The Cisco knows, the CLI knows that you want to type, okay, look at this. I can say, instead of me saying shows running, instead of saying show running configuration, and I'll press enter. I can just say SH like show run, SH space run, and it will show it. Do you understand? I can say show, that's SH IP space INT PRI. That means show IP interface brief. Show IP of the interfaces. When I click on enter, because I've not configured any interface, I've not configured any IP on them, to just show all the interface. But the IP address C, unassigned, 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 unassigned. Why? They are still down. Just only 2 that is up or so. Others are down because they are not connected. What did I type? SH space IP space INT space BRI. That's show IP interface brief. The system knows. Just type the first 3 or 4 characters of those devices, or sorry, of those commands that you want to type. Click on enter and to take it. The switch knows, or the iOS knows rather. So that really helps. You can see using the tab on your keyboard, the one I mentioned earlier. use the tab will help. You can use backspace. Yes. If you want to use backspace, you can use the navigation key to go to the back. Right. But when you're going to the back, it will be deleting the character. So going to the back, to be deleting the character back to the left. So you can use the cursor, which is the arrow, the navigation key, to move your characters, or to move the cursor rather, either to the front or to the back, or to, so should I say to the right or to the left? Right. So you can actually still, if you're using the navigation key up and down, what this one does is it shows the past history of commands that you've typed before. Let me show you what that means. Now I have here, see now as I'm using the back button, it's deleting all the character one by one. If I use the up button, up, the navigation key up, it shows the last command I entered to show it. If I press it again, it shows the last two commands. If I press it again, it shows the last three commands, the last four commands, like that. I think it shows to probably the last 5 commands or so, what usually displays, or is it 5 or 10, something like that. But it shows the history instead of you. So in cases where you want there are repetitive tasks, or you want to repeat a command, you won't have to be typing it again. Just quickly use the navigation key to go back and click on anyone, the option, just click on it and it will bring it out. So that's about that. Yes, still on this alt keys and shortcuts. Control C, I mentioned this earlier. Control C is the same thing as Control Z. What they will do is they take you back to the privileged executive mode. If you're in the global configuration mode, just press Control C. See, it takes you back to privileged executive mode. Same thing happens to Control Z. Then this command, Control Shift 6, what happens is it stops the C-squares from resolving a command into domain name. So you can see this is an all-purpose bridge sequence used to abort DNS lookup. So in order to stop it, there's a command we usually use. That command is I think they call it no IP domain iPhone lookup. Yeah, no IP domain lookup. When you put IP domain lookup, you press enter. If you type anything wrong, it will be trying to resolve it into a domain name. But if it's a number, it will try to resolve it in if it's a number, it tries to resolve it into a domain name. If it's an argument or a keyword rather, it tries to resolve it into an IP address. Do you understand? Now you don't want it to be doing that because it's a layer 2 switch. So if it's happening, it will freeze your configuration while you're doing it. It will freeze your configuration while you're doing it. So most times it usually happens, not often, but once in a while, when you type the wrong character or the wrong command and you press enter, it will just try to show resolving to. So in order to break it, because it will freeze your configuration, you'll not be able to do anything until that thing is done. So in order to stop it, you use Control Shift and 6 to stop it. So we have the enter key when you're using your you're checking your what is it called, your configuration, the output. You're trying to use the show command, for instance, show running configuration, show IP interface brief. So those results that the commands are bringing out, if they are too much for a particular screen, right? If it's the result is taking about maybe 4 screens to display, so it's too much for your screen, you want it to proceed to the next screen, you click on enter. Enter will display it to the next screen. But if you want it to be displaying line by line, just be clicking on the space bar to display everything line by line. Okay, so sorry, it's enter for next line, spacebar for next screen. Enter for the next line. Let me show you. Yeah, here we said do show run. I'm not in this mode. When I was in the privilege executive mode, I said show run. Now I'm in the global configuration mode, but I want to force it to show running configuration. So use the instruction do show run. When I say enter now, see, that's shown me from this is where the result starts from to this place. So it's more, if I want it to display the next line, like we said here, I'll press the enter key. See, next line, enter key. To be showing everything one by one, one by one, one by one, line after line. So if I want it to display the entire screen, like the entire next screen, if it's our 5 screen, instead of displaying line by line, let's just show the next screen. I'll just click on spacebar and it shows from interface 0 to interface 16. Right? If I still click on the spacebar again, it shows from interface 13 to interface G0/2. So it keeps showing the next line when I click on enter till it gets to the end of the configuration. Till it gets to the end of the line or the end of the screen where the output ends. So that's it. So any other key, like they said here, ends the display. If you type another key while you are trying, aside this space bar and what is it called? The enter, that is showing the result of the output of the command that you typed. It will go back to the real executive mode. That's what it is. So the essence of using the space bar is because when you see this more, it means there are more screen. There are still more results to that command that you type. So when you use the space bar, it shows the next screen. If you still see more again, it means there's still more, there's an additional screen ahead that's still displaying the results of the command you entered. So just keep on clicking the space bar till if you stop seeing more, that means it's the last screen. That's what it is. So we are going to look at all these Ctrl+C's, Ctrl+R, and their likes like that. We'll look at them all in detail. So I'm coming. So in Packet Tracer, they're saying you should do the following: establish basic connection, access CLI, explore the executive modes, set the clock. Okay, these are labs, right? Then this one they're saying you should access the serial console ports, configure basic device settings. Optional, you can access the Cisco after using a mini USB. So some of these, like they're saying using Tera10, like they said here. Some of these things you can't do them using the Cisco Packet Tracer. We don't have Tera10 in Cisco Packet Tracer. We don't have PuTTY, right? But we can actually click on the image, the icon on the screen, and just like I did earlier, and double click on it and it will open the device. I'll start configuring. Then we can use the virtual console cable to connect to the device and configure. I'm going to show you that. So talking about basic device settings, what are the things you need to configure first? Configure device host name. Change the host name from the switch or router to what the purpose of the switch is. Like here, I said switch floor 1. That means the switch is serving everybody on the first floor. That's what it means. Some companies have a system of naming. They have how do I put it, a naming system for all their devices. Being it laptop, desktop, or whatever, they have it. So it's like that everywhere. They have for their infrastructure devices as well. So they will not want to name it something that can be easily guessed. They usually have their system of naming. So that's it. So there are guidelines for naming devices. You don't just name the device anyhow. No. So one of them is that you have to start with a letter. Start with a letter. Take for instance, look at this. We have S here. Second option is you must not put spaces in between this device name. So you can see they're using an iPhone here to space them. So switch floor 1. That's what they give here. So apparently it should have probably been switch space floor space 1. So it's the same thing as saying switch iPhone floor iPhone 1. So in this case, the iPhone is serving as a space. So we can combine it with either a letter or a digit. We can combine it, but it has to end with either of them. It can be the letter or the digit. The digit is the number. So you must not end the name with this hyphen or with underscore. Do you get? Those are symbols. They are not letter and they are not digits, or they are not numbers. And the name must not be more than 64 characters in length. So you can only use letters, digits, and dashes. So and that's the reason why when I was changing the name of the switch here, was it here? I changed the name of the switch. See, I didn't put space. I wrote my switch. There's no space in between. I still say host name, I can see my iPhone switch. You can see now there's now an iPhone underneath. I can still say my iPhone switch, iPhone 01. So if I have 2 switches or I have 10 switches, I know this particular switch 01 is number 1. I know the second one is number 2. The third one is number 3, like that. So it's just something that would help you to easily identify the device that you're connecting to. That's what it is. So we are going to do this command here. Password guidelines. Thank you. So the use of quick passwords is not allowed when using Cisco iOS. But for the sake of this course, we are using simple passwords like Cisco class. Some will use CCNA, some will use my password, and their likes like that. But working on real environments, working on devices like real devices, you have to use your password you have to use a password that's very strong. That's a combination of alphanumeric characters. Let me show you one of the password I used in that's like I think 5 years ago or so. I used to use back then. It's a dollar, then Galina, capital A. At 0, 0, 2, 3, 4, 9, 0, something like this. So I used this password for almost about 3 years. I was just scrambling it. I was scrambling it. Something of this length is fine. I'm not using it anymore. That's like 4 or 5 years ago. So I changed it to something else completely. Right? You can see the length. You can see how difficult it is for it to be guessed. Something that is not in any way relating to, you, right? They said use passwords that are more than 8 characters. So the more lengthy it is, the harder it gets for a bad guy to crack it. That's one. So you can use a combination of upper and lower cases, characters, numbers, special number, special characters, and or numeric sequence. You can see here I use 0, 0, 2, 3, 4, 9, 0. Later I said 9, 1. At some point I said 9, 2. You know, later I just let me get rid of this and use something new. So the longer it is, the better for you. So avoid using the same name, yes. So imagine you are using your console password. You use this, for instance. Now your VTY password, you're not using this again. It's not a good practice. Use something different. So reusing a password helps to even it puts you at more risk, right? Because if one of your imagine having several accounts, right, and you're using one single password. So if that password is out, or if it leaks to maybe somebody, or it gets to somebody that is not, you know, an authorized person to your account, then that means all the accounts that you have is at risk. That means all the accounts you have has been hacked. That means the whole account you have is not yours anymore. Why? Because you're using a single password for all your accounts. So it's not really a good practice. Not just in Cisco, say like alone, but in every other applications. Right? So we don't use the same password for all devices. Now they said don't use common words because they can be easily guessed. For the sake of this lab, we are going to be using simple passwords like Cisco, class, like that. So you can see here they did line console 0, and they passworded this console line. You can see password of the console line. They said Cisco, and they said login. What the login what the login command does is it prompts you to log in at the very first access of the switch. Before you can even do anything on the switch, log in first. That's what it does. So when the console line is the first level of security you can give your switch or your router. For any device or for anybody to be able to access that your Cisco iOS, it has to present this password. Then after the person has entered the password, there are limits to what you can do in this mode. Now, if he now wants to proceed to the second mode, which is the privilege executive mode, he still needs to enter a password. How do you do that? You say enable secrets. Then in this case now, the password they're using here is class. Here they use Cisco. So we are going to do a lab of these two. The enable secrets, you can use password and you can use anything you want. Here now in this case, this is an argument. Can be class, can be Cisco, can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, can be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, anything. Just be sure that it is secure and it's known by only you, the engineer. So we are going to do this in our lab today. I'll do it shortly for us to see. Then talking of VTY line, like I said, VTY lines are virtual lines. If you want to be connecting to your devices, I told you earlier that I don't usually go to my server room to connect to my Cisco devices using the console cable. I have remote connection enabled. So what are those remote connection? I enabled it through VTY line. Yes, I did through VTY line. So now on this VTY line, what they did here is 0 to 15. See, line VTY 0 to 15. It means you can have 16 simultaneous connections to the switch. 0 is 1. 0 means 1 to 15 means from 0 to 15. Like that when you're counting from 0 to 1 to 2, to 3. That means you have 16 virtual connections, 16 remote connections simultaneously to the switch. So you can limit it by saying 0 to maybe 0 to 4. 0 to 4 means how many people, please? How many simultaneous connections?
That's
Are we there?
5 people.
That's
That's
5
5
people.
people.
Thank you. Yes. So when you say 0, what does it
Hello, sir,
mean?
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So when you now say 0, what does it mean? Hello? Can you hear me? When you say
Yes, sir,
0,
I
what
can
does it
hear
mean?
you.
When you say
0 to
0,
8
what
is
does it
9.
mean? 0 will be what? It means just one person. If 0 to 4 is 5, like I said, 0 means 1. So 0 is considered as 1 here. So 1,
Yes,
2 to 5 to 4 means
0
5.
is 1.
We are saying line VTY 0. It
Sorry,
means
my
you only
network
have
was breaking
one.
up. It's 0 to 8.
It's fine. It's fine. No problem. So when you are having just 0, it means you can only get one simultaneous connection to your Cisco devices. If one person is connecting and you want to connect, that person has to log out first for you to be able to get into the switch. Else, you will not be able to connect into it. So see what they said here. Note, VTY lines enable remote access using either Telnet or SSH to the device. So many Cisco switches support up to 16 VTY lines, right? So it is numbered between 0 to 15. So we don't want to do it 0 to 15. We can say 0 to 1, maybe just 2. Maybe you're just 2 engineers, your guy, and you, right? So this is just the 2 of you that will connect to it. It's cool. So then you define the password that you want to use. Let's say password Cisco, like they said here, password Cisco. Then you just use the word login. That's all. I say end. When you say end, it takes you back to privilege executive mode. You can still say Control C will take you back. You can say exit will take you back. Yeah, although they are different commands, but they do the same job. Right. So this is page, okay, slide 33. I'll stop here and I'll just show us few labs. It's 10 o'clock already. Continue tomorrow. So here we are encrypting our password. By default, the Cisco iOS does not encrypt password. Yes, they don't encrypt password. I'll show you a lab for it. We'll do everything in this lab now. And you will see why I said Cisco doesn't encrypt password. So in order to save your configurations, you have to save, so even if somebody have access, really be able to have access to your, like accidentally have access to your CLI. You should not know what the access password is. So how do you do this? How do you scramble your password? How do you encrypt it so that bad guys don't know what it is? You use this command, service password iPhone encryption. So just come with a global configuration mode command. Just come here. You see service password encryption. Press enter and say exit. That's all. So it will convert your password. See what it converts this password. It converted this password also to this. Imagine that a bad guy has seen 0395 capital A 0F0 and be like, what the fuck is this person doing here? Right? It will look confusing and they won't know what it's in there. So only you that created it will know what you did. It's just a way of, confusing people. Right? So even if they have access to it, do you understand? Let them be confused. That's just it. So here we have banner MOTD as well. Final MOTD. MOTD means this MOTD means message of the day. This is the first, it's like a disclaimer message that appears on your switch. First thing when the person tries to access the switch, you just see that this is so company's device. Please keep off. You know, just a way of scaring people and say you'll be fired when you're caught, something like that. So we use this to, kind of set a disclaimer message on the switch as well. Or you say, okay, look at this case now, they said authorized access only. So if you're not having authorized access and you're trying to access it, you're putting yourself at risk when you're caught. So this is it. I'm going to end here now. So we're going to have our lab and you see how it is configured. Feel free to try this on your own and reach out to me if you have any issues. I'm ready to direct you guys. So let's go back to our labs. I'm going to close these. Then I'll do refresh. Let me delete all. Yes. Yeah, that's all. So I'm having a new router. This is my router. This is my switch. And this is my laptop. This is my laptop. So we have, let me do automatic connection to this. Automatic connection to this. Automatic connection to this. Now, after 30 seconds, you come here, you're going to fast forward. If I fast forward it now, this amber light will turn green. Green, so it is green now, right? So I want to configure my switch 2. How do I configure switch 2? You right click, come here, come to this console cable. This is your console. Click on this console cable here, click on it. I will start it to, then connect to the switch. Then go to console at the top. This is console. We are in. Okay, console now. And console now. So click on the switch, come to desktop, come to terminal, and say okay. Yes, you're in. Now that you're in the switch, you can do a lot of things. This is the user executive mode, the first mode, user executive mode. You want to name it, say enable to go into the user executive mode. Then we'll say configure terminal, config T, go into our global configuration mode. Let's change the host name to what are we going to call the switch? My iPhone switch. Don't forget there should be an iPhone in the switch name. There's no space. That's one. Then we've done, we have configured the host name. Secondly, we need to configure the console line. This port that this sky blue cable is connecting to. So that somebody who has access to our server room, maybe a clerk or a cleaner, that is just coming in to sweep the server room, that's also done CCNA, will not just go and connect because the company is not paying salary. We'll not just go and connect our switch and mess things up, right? People are funny. A lot of things are happening. So we need to connect, we need to however, secure the console ports so that the person will not be able to access it easily. So what you just do is line space console 0. Don't forget 0 means 1. So every Cisco device only have one console port. Console ports can never be 2. It can never be 2. It's just 1. And it gives you an out-of-band access. That's the port that you need to do your initial configuration like we are doing now. Line console 0 means just 1 port. Then you're going to say password is what? Let's say Cisco. They will say login. Enter. They will say exit. That is it. Now for VTY line, now we can now say line VTY 0 to, when I say 0 to 2, that means we only have 3 simultaneous logins to this device. Enter. Then I'll say password is also what? Cisco. I'm using the same, okay, let me use class. Don't forget to not use the same password. Password is class. Then I'll say login. Enter. So exit. That is it. So we still have one more thing we need to do. The banner MOTD message. Banner MOTD is message of the day. You want to configure a disclaimer message to scare anybody that wants to try to sign into your switch. What we just need to do is to say banner MOTD. You see hash. Then you can put in something like this. Maybe you say authorized users only. Say please keep off those to this. And put slash. Say enter. That's all. What else? Okay, let's see our configuration. Don't forget, we've not saved. So if I should restart this device now, if I should restart it, everything I've configured now will be gone. Do you want us to try it and see? I have not saved since. If I just do restart, like I said, in CLI, everything has to be configured. If I want to restart the switch now or install the switch, I'll just tell it to reboot. If I come here now and say exit and say, what's that command again? Sorry, reload. Yeah. When I say reload now, it will ask me, are you sure? He said, save system configuration has been modified. Do you want to save? If I say no, and it restarts, everything I've configured here will go. Do you understand? So you have to save your configurations first. So yeah, I'll say yes and enter. So it's now asking me, do I still want to reload? I'll say yes, enter. So you see now, the Cisco US is reloading. It's reloading. See, all the interface here has gone red because it's restarting. Now it has restarted. But it's booting because all these interfaces are still not up yet. Let me pass forward the time, from here, pass forward time, and everything will show green. Okay, so if I now come here and say enter, what are you seeing here? Are you seeing anything like unauthorized access? Okay, sorry, authorized users only. Please keep off. Did you see anything like that? See, authorized users only, please keep off.
Yeah.
Just the way to, yeah, so that's it. So now you want to access the switch. I can't access the user executive mode because it has been passworded. If I press enter, it will go again. It's just be looping. You need to provide a valid password to access it. So what's the password? I'll say CISCO, which is Cisco. I'm in. See now? I'm in user executive mode. If I now use the privilege executive mode, if I get to the privilege executive mode, it will still ask me of another password because I used the second level authentication. If I say enable now, oh, I've not used the privilege executive mode password. Let me encrypt it. Let me do that. 50, sorry. 50, and I'll say service. No. Say enable. Yeah, to put To password your privileged executive mode access, you use the command enable secrets. Should I use class? Class. Class is the password for this. Enter. And I'll say do write. Do write is the shortcut to save your file. Shortcuts, just say do write. I've saved now. So if I reload the switch now, if I say exit, no need of reloading the switch, just exit. Exit, go off the switch. I've gone out now. And I'm trying to come in again. So it had to tell me authorized users only, please keep off. So because I'm an authorized user, I'll try to access the switch. I'll just say Cisco is my password. So it has taken me to the user executive mode. Now to enter privilege executive mode, I'll say enable. Enable, enter. See now, second level password. So now put class. Now I'm in. Do you understand? So we have been able to authenticate through the user executive mode and the privilege executive mode. Now I'm in. And this is the switch name that we used, my switch. You can see now, if I show you something, let's assume somebody is able to bypass, probably you left your screen like this and left to quickly go and attend to a user. And one of your colleague or a friend that is also an IT person came to your office and saw this on your screen. And the person you will just use this command and say show run. If you use the command show run, you will see he's going to see a lot of things on your system. See, what are the things he's going to see? Line console 0. Password is what? Cisco. On your VTY line, password is what? Class. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So he's saying that your console password is Cisco and your VTY password is class. And you're allowing only 3 simultaneous connection, right? So the guy now can remotely connect to your switch and he can harm your switch. So what you just need to do is to scramble the password, encrypt it. How do you do encryption? Go back to your switch, go to configure terminal and say service password encryption. Just press enter. That's all. Then say do write. I've saved. So now if you use the show run command now, let's go to where we have our line console 0 and BTY line and see the passwords again. If you are going to see Cisco and class. Now see line console 0. Password is now line BTY 0 to 2. Password is now this 08241AF this because we have encrypted it. Now look at this place too. Look at our enable secrets class, our user executive and privilege executive mode password. See the password. When you say enable secrets, you are encrypting your privilege executive mode password. That's what it means. If you say enable password this is different. It will show the password. When you say enable secret, it means you are scrambling it. See what you converted our class. It was class I use here. See what you converted it to. So that's just how it is. And see what you converted this one to. Line console 0 from Cisco and class. So then if you come back here, you see it here. See what it was before. Password is class. Then here, password is Cisco. So that's how to encrypt your password. So we've done 3 major things today. We have done host name change. We're able to change our host name. We're able to password our console line. We're also able to password our VTY line as well. Then we're able to encrypt all our passwords. What else? We're able to set banner MOTD messages. Like that's a banner message of the day. Yes. What else have we not done? Okay, so these are just the basic things you need to do. This is where we are going to stop today. There are other advanced things that you can actually do, right? So without using this console, there's a way you can enable remote access by giving this guy an IP address on the switch, and you will not have to even use this console cable again. Just connect. You can be here and you just connect to this guy. You can connect to the switch on this person. You can even connect from the router to this guy. Do you understand? So now you want to configure the router interface. Like I said earlier here, by default, these guys, see, they don't have IP address. You come here now, see, IP address is static. You don't have IP address. I'm just going to do this for lab's sake, for you to just see that there's a lot you can do. You can make this router your DHCP server. I'll configure it as I'm configuring now. You see that the interface here will turn red. No, I'll just say router one. I'll say enable. I'll say config. Then host name should be my router. My router, then I'll be like interface. Before I even check the interface, let me just say do show interface brief. Let me see the interface that it has. Do show interface brief. Okay. Say do show IP interface brief. Yeah. So it has shown me it has interface gigabit and x000. Okay, so I'll just say interface G0/0/0, enter. And I'll say IP address 192.168.1.1, 255.255.255.0. Please be watching this place, so you see that it will turn green now. If I use the command no shutdown, that's no shut. You can say no shutdown or no shut. If I hit enter now, this interface will turn green immediately. Just watch. Boom. Did you see that? It will turn green, and after 30 seconds, it will turn green here as well. So what it means is, look at line protocol on interface G0/0 change state to up. It's now in an up state. By default, interface are usually shut down. It is the ports that are on state by default. Now look at this laptop now. The laptop does not have IP address. If you come here and say IP configuration, if I say DHCP, see, nothing is here. It will only get 169 blah 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 blah. And 169 is an APIPA address. I want it to get 192.168.1. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4. Do you understand? See, DHCP failed. APIPA is being assigned. APIPA is the meaning of APIPA is automatic private IP address. What it does is, if a device is not able to reach a DHCP server, or there is no DHCP server that will automatically assign IPs to that device on the network, then this Windows will just automatically generate APIPA, or the OS automatically generate APIPA. So me, now I want to use DHCP. I will just configure DHCP server here, and these guys get IP address automatically. Instead of this 169, all you see is 192.168 or something. And before that, if you try to ping now, I will not be able to ping. If I say ping 192.168.1.1, see, I can't ping the router. Can't ping it. It's just be saying request timeout, request timeout, request timeout. Say request timeout again. See. So if you want to ping it, just the only thing I can do is to just configure it. I'll come here and I'll say IP DHCP complete IP DHCP excluded address 192.168.1.1. That's all. So you can start giving people address from .2.2. And I'll say IP DHCP. I can name it, just name it my lab pool. Enter, and I'll see my default gateway is 192.168.1.1, which is this 1.1 that was excluded here. Don't give anybody this router, is the gateway that has that one. Then DNS can be base.8.8.8, which is Google Public DNS. Then I can now say I can say the network. Yeah, network will be 192.168.1.0, 2.5.2.5.2.5.0. Yeah, that's all. So I'm done. Just say do right. Saved. So I configured the ACP server here now. Right. Now look at this place. This guy now is having a paper 169.254.2 something. You guys can see it, right? I'll come back to start it. I'll now click on DCP again. You see that 169 that you saw before would have it will change to 192.168 or something. Check now. Come back, check again. Something is not right. Let's see. As this one was an IP. Come here, set your
I
IP.
think so.
I'm listening.
Okay,
Let's
I
check
think
our interface again.
you click on switch instead of router.
I'm in the round. Oh,
When
sorry. Look at me.
click on switch,
Look at me. Can you imagine? I thought I was connected to this router.
no.
It was the router I was configuring now.
Yeah,
Really?
when you want to do that one, you click on switch, not the router.
Let me see. Do show run. I'm trying to close out the class as soon as possible. I don't want to waste you guys' time. Oh, really? So I only just did the interface on the router. Okay, no problem. So what I'll do here on this switch is to just say no IP ACP. No IP ACP. TCP using command TCP pool. What's that full name here again? My pool. Copy, paste here, enter. So that's all. So when you check now, just say do right. Do you know why the switch cannot do DHCP? Because it's a layer 2 switch. If it's a multifunctional switch, if it's a layer 3 switch, it will do DHCP, actually. So if you say do show run, and you see here, there's no DHCP again, right? So you can as well say no IP ACP excluded address 192.168.1.1. Right. So I'm coming into this guy and I'll say IP ACP excluded address 192.168.1.1. Then I'll say IP ACP pool. Can name it new pool. I'll say default router will be 192.168.1.1. Then DNS will be 8.8.8.8. Then I'll say network is 192.168.1.0 space 2.5.2.5.2.0. Right, then I'll say exit. I think I'm done. So when you come here now and say, yeah, I'm static. You're supposed to get C now. Can you see? I'm now getting 192.168.1.3. This one now will get 192.168.1.2. If you come here now, see 1.2. The DSP router gave it all this by itself. Gave it the DNS, gave it the gateway, gave it the subnet mask and the IP address. So I can from here I can ping my router now. I can ping my router now. Say ping 192.168.1.1. Enter. I'll get reply. See, I'm getting reply. That's how it is. So if I give this guy now, if I give this guy an IP, this switch, I can give it an IP as well. He cannot do this, but he can have an IP, right? A virtual IP, that's what I mean. I'll just say interface VLAN 1. And I'll say IP address 192.168.1.maybe 255.2.0. I'll say no shutdown, exit. Now see interface is up. Now say exit. Now see IP default gateway will be 192.168.1.1. So now say do right. So now if I ping it, I will get reply because now I've configured it that all your traffic should go to this gateway. So when it gets to this gateway, it will be able to reply me. So from here now, I gave it 192.168.1.254. If I say 254 now, if I ping, the first ping is likely to fail. The reason I will explain to you in the later class, it's due to a process called ARP, Address Resolution Protocol. So when you press enter to start trying to ping, first one might fail, but second one will work. See now, first one failed, but the remaining three worked. So subsequently now, if you want to ping, no one will fail again. If I click on this now and say ping, everything will pass. See? This is due to a process called ARP. We are going to do it in the later class. There are complex networks, so I'm just using this for you as an example. Right? By the time we go in depth into routing, we go into MAC address, filtering, creating policies, asset control lists, what do they call it, spanning tree, subnetting, supernetting, and a lot of them like that. You know that it's small, it's complex. There's a lot that you need to configure on your device. So the Cisco iOS is just a very small software. The software is not even up to, it's not up to 5 MB. Cisco iOS, yeah, it's not the total of the iOS size is not to 5 MB. So most times rather the Cisco RAM is usually very small. Some of them are having maybe, aside the newer ones now that they're doing, they're having maybe 512 MB or maybe 1 gig. Most times Cisco devices, the RAM is usually I think 64 MB. Some yeah, maybe 64 MB or so. So it's very, very small. You can see now this interface is up. When you over your mouse on it, you see the interface G0/0/0 is up, and that's the IP address. Others are not in use. So best practice is to shut down interfaces that are not in use. They're not using an interface, you just shut them down. That's just it. You just use the shutdown command where you are in the interface. You can see other config. When I was telling you about other modes that we have, aside the user executive, privilege executive, and global configuration mode, right? We have other sub modes. Look at this place now. This is the DHCP mode, DHCP config. Here we were coming with the global configuration mode. So when we started configuring DHCP here, it changed it to DHCP config. You can see. If you're in the line configuration mode, you see config line, config line. If you're in the interface configuration mode, you see config IF, means config interface. That's what it means. So that's how it is. Today, we'll be able to do a couple of things. I can share, I'll send this thing to the lab. I'll send it to the WhatsApp group. Let me save it as what? I'll save it as let me just save it as lab. So you can take out this switch by clicking on the button and just click on this to get out. And you say save. That's all. It has saved. So please ask questions with the other things that. See here, do you notice here before it was saying DHCP failed? Now it's saying DHCP successful. That's because there's now a connection between the laptop and the router, and between the desktop here and the router. So there's connectivity. All users can read themselves. The laptop can read the switch, desktop can read the switch, and they can also read the router as well. So they can all read themselves. So please ask questions. This is going to be the end of today's class. We are going to finalize it tomorrow by God's grace.
Right. Thank you very much, Issa. There's just one question I want to ask. Rather, two
Okay.
questions actually. All this the short codes, because when you are trying to configure the router, I was trying to do the same thing as well. But the way you
Okay.
figured out gigabytes something, I couldn't get it. So I had to just put it one side to wait for the recording. That's fine. The question I want to ask is, what's the difference between line console and global configuration?
You can't access the line configuration except through the global configuration mode. It is global configuration, global configuration mode that will give you access to the line configuration mode. So from the privilege and user executive mode, you can only do few things like checking interface status, checking health status, checking the configuration status of the device. That's what you can do there. You can't do any major configuration in your user and privilege executive mode. So anything you want to do, either through the DHCP line, through the DHCP sub interface, or through the line sub interface, or through the interface to the config interface as well, it has to be through the global configuration mode.
Okay.
I can show you this. The reason you are having issues setting up the interface here is because of the kind of router, the model of router I used, actually. If you check here, there are different routers, about 15 of them, if I'm not mistaken. So the way the kind of interface, the kind of number that the interface on this router has is different from the type that we have on this other one. If you check this one now, you have G0/0/0. This one too has G0/0/0. Check this one. This one has G0/0. The first two has 3 zeros. This one has 2 zeros. Let me show you. Look at this. This is just the physical interface. Come to the CLI and see able don't even show do complete. Just say show IP interface brief. See, it has 3 zeros. 000, 001, 002. Do you understand? So you have to confirm the kind of numbering that your interfaces are using. Or should I say the interfaces in the router that you picked? Confirm the type of numbering that they're using. 001, 002, and like that. It has 3 interfaces. We can actually add more interfaces. If you check the config here, the physical, see that still is only using these 3. Do you understand? 1 is the auxiliary port and 3 is active. So you can see modules now. That still this is a module, this is a module. See, let me zoom it out. This is a module, this is a module, and this is another module. Depending on what you want to do, if you feel like adding additional functionality to this, you can just come here. All you just need to do is switch off the device. Come here, see the power, switch off, 0, click on 0. This green now turn to red. See, that's gone off. Come here and look for the kind of interface you want to use. If it's this one, come add it here. See, is this one, come and add it here. See, add it to this place. Let me take this one out. Then you come back here and power on the device. When you power it on, come here, you see the button, see it's button. Just like using your expansion card. Do you understand? To add more functionality to your system. Or you have exhausted all the USB ports on your system now. You now bought a hub, a mini USB hub. You just put it. See, initially it was just 3 ports. Now it's 001. Sorry, it has changed to 010, 011, 012, 013, 021. See, 020, 021, 022, 023. Before, it was not like that. See, it was just 000, 001, and 002. Now it has changed to 010, 011, 012, 013, 020, 021, 022, and 023. So just check the numbering that the interface, the number of interface that your device is having is what will determine the kind of numbers that the Cisco iOS will give it. This one is having 3 numbers. Let me show you this one. This particular model of router. This is a Cisco ISR 4331 router. ISR means integrated service router. This one is a Cisco 1941 router. It's not ISR, it's just 1941. You click on this now, see, you can see it's different. This one is a small router. This one is a big router. See, this one is big. And it has more functionality than this one. See, do you understand? So this one now, when you come here and just say show IP interface brief. See the interface, it's just 2, G00 and G01. Do you understand? So you have to check the number of interface that your router has. Or you can use this command, show IP interface brief. It will show you the interface type. Right? It helps you to see the status of the interface, whether IP address is assigned or not. Then the status. If the interface is bad, it will show no, that it is not okay. Do you understand? Here will be dynamic on set now because there's no IP address. If you put static IP address, it will be there. If you set it to dynamic, it will be there. Then it is administratively shut down. That means it is deliberately shut down. That's what it means. Routers by default don't have their interface in the up state. It's usually on down because interfaces status have to be configured by the engineer. But switches don't have time. Switch their own, they can work out of the box. They can work in the plug and play mode. But routers don't do that. That's what it means. Am I clear? Did I answer your question? Any question again, please?
Yes. Yeah,
Hello,
from
good
my
evening.
end.
Hello.
Hello. Okay,
Yes,
yes,
my
I can hear
question
you. Good
is,
evening. Okay.
okay, good evening. And thank you for this time and really appreciate all your effort. Thus far, it has been a
That's fine.
wonderful class. I wanted to ask, there are three categories of configurations: the user mode, the privileges mode, and the global configuration. At what point
Yes.
can someone start to use? Is it like a what we have call it now, like primary, secondary, and tertiary? What are the processes involved? That's number one. Then number two is about this layer two and layer three. Please, I just want more clarification on this layer two and layer three devices. In most times, you said one does not apply because it's layer two, one is applied. Even in OSI, open system interconnection or connectivity or something, you know what? I think one is transport and the other one is, I could not remember very well now. So I just need more clarification on all these things. So this will help in configuration and also in terms of devices to be used where the devices is applicable to.
Okay, no problem. So concerning the modes, like I said, we have three major modes. Now, the first mode, there are limits to what you can do there. You cannot do anything. You can't configure anything. You are just checking. Same thing applies to the second mode. Second mode, you can only check connectivity, check configuration, status, check everything that's been configured. That has to do with checks. Either the spanning tree, interface status, MAC address table, port security. You want to check anything that has to do with checking happens here in the privilege executive mode. Privilege executive mode. Everything happens here. In this mode, you can't do anything. You're only viewing. Just this first mode is like a read only kind of mode. It's like somebody giving you a read only access to something. You cannot alter anything. You're just viewing, right? And there are limits to what you can even view in this place. Just very few commands that you can do here, right? But it's just good we secure this end. Do you understand? Because it's like the first step into your device. So if somebody is able to have the first leg into your device, one leg is in, one leg is out. If he's able to put the second leg into your privilege executive mode, then he has finally accessed your device because this is it's like the mode that is next to the global configuration mode where everything happens. Everything on the switch happens from this um, global configuration mode. Initial configuration, security implementation, policy creation, and everything testing happens in this um, global configuration mode. The privilege executive mode, you can't do anything there. The only thing you can do is to test connectivity and check everything that you have configured so far in the global configuration mode. You can just check them. Show IP interface brief, show spanning tree summary, show interface status, show interface speed, show this. You want to see everything that's been configured so far. Everything you did in this global configuration mode, you want to be seeing it. This design, the privilege executive mode is designed for that. That's what it is. Then concerning layer 2 and layer 3, the L2 and L3. Now, in the OSI model, L3 is the internet layer. It's referred to as internet. In the OSI layer, L2 is referred to as the physical layer. Sorry, data link layer. Now, I call this layer 2 and I call this layer 3, right? So what happened is this. Different things happen in these two layers. Layer 2 have their own form of addressing. I don't know if you heard of MAC address. MAC address. Media access control address. That's the kind of
Yes.
addressing that is used in layer 2. That's the kind of addressing that is used in layer 2. So on Earth, there's no two devices that can have the same MAC address. MAC address is unique. Do you know why it is unique? It's like me going into detail, but let me just explain this. MAC address is a 48-bit hexadecimal address. Now, out of that 48 bits, we have the OUI and we have the DID. This is 24 and this is 24. OUI is organizationally unique identifier. For all HP laptops, HP have their own unique ID. All HP laptops have their own. So this device ID is going to be different. For the first 24 bits of all HP laptop in the whole world will have the same 24 bits. First 24 bits will be the same. Same thing happens for Dell. Same thing happens for Lenovo, Toshiba, and everything. Do you understand? Just this OUI is like a street name. And this DID means device ID. It's like the device ID or house address. This one is the street name. This one is the house address. That's what it means. So it's no two devices can have the same device ID. Every device ID is unique to every device. So the kind of addressing that happens here is MAC addressing. That's media. It's an acronym. It controls access to the media because it's layer 2. Where is the media? The media is the cable that carries the data. The media is in layer 1. So layer 2 is right above layer 1. In the encapsulation process, it goes down like this. Encapsulation goes down from layer 7 to 1. So during encapsulation, your PC, your application that you're using to work is at this application layer. So it starts from layer 7 to layer 1. So when it gets to this place, MAC address works. MAC address is a unique address that is assigned to the network interface card of every device. So what MAC does is this. There are two layers in this layer 2. There is LLC and there is MAC. So this one is link local control. Its interfaces with layer 3. This one is MAC. The interfaces with layer 1. So MAC address, what MAC does is, as the name implies, media access control. It controls media. It controls the access of this layer 2 frame. The PDU, that's what they call PDU. PDU is the format of data in this layer. The format of data in layer 3 is packets. Format of data in layer 4 is segments. Format of data in layer 2 is frames. This frame now, it converts the frame into the format that can be transported through this media. That's why they call it media access control, MAC. It controls how the PDU, the PDU of this layer, of layer 2, the frames are being placed on this media. Now the media can either be a copper cable or fiber. It depends. Some are even using E1, some are using coaxial cable. Depending on the kind of, some are even using wireless. Do you understand? Depending on the kind of carrier, the media that is carrying the message. Do you understand? Whether you are using wireless or you are using fiber, or you are using copper, layer 2 will take care of that. It will convert the frame into a format that is compatible with the kind of cabling that you are using. That's why they call it media access control. It controls how the frames accesses this media. That's what it does. So the addressing, this layer 2 addressing, works with layer 2 devices. And that is why we have layer 2 switch. On the layer 2 switch, what layer 2 switch does is very simple. It doesn't do something really much like that. It just maintains an addressing table. That's what it does. It maintains an addressing table. What's the addressing table? It has a table like this. Two that has two this thing. It just puts here, it has ports. And it has MAC address here. So that means on port 1, who's connected to port 1? Port 1, port 1, this MAC address. Port 2, this MAC address. Port 3, this MAC address. Port 4, this MAC address. So it monitors all the MAC address of the devices that are connected to each of its ports. That's what it does. It doesn't do any other thing. But for layer 3 switches have some layer 3, they can do some layer 3 functionalities. They have some layer 3 functionalities in them, like routing. Like that DHCP now that I configured earlier, that I mistakenly configured on layer 2 switch. If it was layer 3 switch, it will work. It's going to work. Layer 3 switch can do routing, they can do switching, they can do ACL, that's access control list. They can create some policies on layer 3 switch and they'll do it. They can do DHCP as well. And what else? They can just not like it can do the whole thing, right? It's not like it can do the whole thing that a layer 3 device can do, but it has some layer 3 functionalities. So it's just a way, if you are using layer 3, just a way of relieving your router of some work. All the work that you will put on the router will be doing routing, to facing the internet, you create some policies, block this, block YouTube, block. You want to reduce that, workload, especially if the router is not even a high-end router. So you just have to do a load balancing. You move some of the functionalities, you move it to the layer 3 switch. So that the router can function effectively, it can play its role effectively. Do you understand? So layer 2 addressing is MAC addressing. Layer 3 addressing is IP addressing. That's why you're asking you're checking on the IP. Somebody can have IP address. Okay, let me give you an example of what I think your infrastructure is a very good infrastructure to explain this. On your infrastructure, you used to have a captive portal, right? So you have a captive portal. You have a DHCP server. A client now, this client tries to connect to your network via Wi-Fi. When he tries to connect via Wi-Fi, he has your password, your Wi-Fi password. He will connect. With just your password, the guy will connect. Just your password. But he will not be able to browse. Why? Because he has not passed the layer 3 authentication phase, where he needs to enter his voucher. Do you understand? The fact that he's connected to your network and he cannot browse does not mean he can't do something. He can do something on your network. He can actually ping other devices on your network. He can do some sort of stuff. He can, carry out some layer 2 connectivity between the device and other devices on your network. Just that it won't go beyond layer 2. That is it. So if he now wants to browse, you need to have an IP. That's where layer 3 comes in. He has the Wi-Fi password, but he cannot browse. It is when he has now entered the voucher that you give to him, the guest voucher, now in your hotel as a guest. Yeah, he now has the valid voucher. That is when he will now be able to browse. That is when the DHCP user will now give it an IP to give it a valid IP that, okay, look, if you want to browse, this is your IP, this is the subnet mask. I am the gateway. Use me to go to internet. Anytime you want to go to internet. That's just it. So I don't know if I've explained did you get it, or I should still elaborate more?
It's fine, Mr.
So
Lecturer. Thank you so much.
they are different, they play a different role in. We are going to learn about encapsulation. Encapsulation happens, it happens from layer 7 down to layer 1. The encapsulation happens from layer 1, sorry, layer 1 back to layer 7. When you are sending a device, take for instance, you are sending an email. Your email is happening from the application layer. It goes down to layer 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then it goes through the cable, your copper cable, or maybe your fiber cable, or wireless, anyone that you're connecting with, it goes. Then on the receiver's end, it goes back again. It de-encapsulates from layer 1 back to layer 7 before it now displays on the person's mailbox that his mail has dropped. Somebody sent a mail. I'm going to explain everything. It's just that because we are still at the beginning phase. So I think after these 3 topics now, we are going to treat each of these layers one by one. Layer 2 is the physical layer. Sorry, layer 1 is physical layer. Layer 2 is data link layer. Layer 3 is the internet layer. Layer 4 is transport. Layer 5 is presentation layer. Layer 6 is session layer. Then layer 7 is application layer. So there's this acronym that we're using then that helps us to not forget the layer. If you want to, especially in exam cases, right? They call it P PD and S PA. Yeah, as people do not. Okay, transport layer is in between. People do not throw sausage pizza away. This is when you're starting from layer 1. Then if you want to start from layer 7 back to layer 1, you say all people seem to need data processing. That's just it. That's why I have it in my head, right? It's over 6 years now, so like, it's just there. So the first one from layer 1 is, if you want to say people do not throw sausage pizza away. Then from layer 7 back to layer 1, depending on how you want to name it. If you're asked to do it in ascending or descending order, just know how to come in. In descending order, you say all people seem to need data processing, and that's all. So I'm going to explain the role that each of these layers play in network communication. How you send a WhatsApp message, it just goes down from your application layer to layer 1, and it goes back to layer 7 on the receiving end within a fraction of a second. All this is happening within milliseconds. You just send it and ping, the message you drop, and you're like, it's very fast. A lot has happened actually. In between, a lot has happened. So because all these things happen within a fraction of a second, they call it, is it millisecond or so. So it will look like, this is not just to send message and receive message. So why are we going through all these processes? So that's how it is. I hope I've been able to answer your questions now. So any further questions? If there's no further question, it's fine. Then you can call it a day.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Then good night.